Imagine a man whose legend is so powerful, it has outlived centuries of history. A warrior, a king, a Viking hero whose name sparks both awe and mystery. But what if I told you that Ragnar Lothbrok's greatest battle wasn't fought with sword and shield, but with the truth of his existence itself? Was he a real historical figure, or simply a myth born from Viking sagas and poetic exaggerations? Stick with me until the end, because today we'll uncover the truth behind Ragnar Lothbrok's life, his legendary battles, and how history and myth have merged to make him one of the most fascinating figures in Norse history. By the end, you'll understand how a single name has shaped Viking history, inspired generations, and blurred the lines between fact and fiction. 1. Who was Ragnar Lothbrok? Before diving into battles and myths, let's start with the basics. Who was Ragnar Lothbrok? According to Viking sagas, he was a legendary Norse hero, a warrior, and a king. He was famous for his cunning strategies, fearless raids, and his ambition to conquer lands far beyond Scandinavia. But here's where things get complicated. Most of what we know about Ragnar comes from sagas, oral stories written down centuries after the Viking Age. These sagas, like the tale of Ragnar Lothbrok and the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, blend history with mythology. Some historians believe Ragnar was based on multiple historical figures, while others think he was a symbolic character representing Viking ideals. So, was Ragnar Lothbrok real, or was he a creation of Norse imagination? 2. The man behind the myths. Let's look at the historical clues. Ragnar's story is tied to key events in Viking history. For example, the raid on Lindisfarne in 793 CE, which marked the start of the Viking Age. The siege of Paris in 845 CE, where a Viking leader, possibly Ragnar, demanded a massive ransom from the Frankish king Charles the Bald, and his supposed death in a snake pit, a tale that sounds more like legend than fact. These events have been attributed to Ragnar, but were they actually his achievements? Some historians suggest that these stories were exaggerated or assigned to Ragnar to glorify Viking culture. 3. Ragnar's greatest battle, the Siege of Paris. One of Ragnar's most famous battles was the Siege of Paris in 845 CE. According to historical accounts, a Viking fleet of 120 ships sailed up the Seine River and attacked the city. This daring raid struck fear into the heart of Europe. The Frankish king, Charles the Bald, paid a massive ransom of 7,000 pounds of silver to make the Vikings leave. The leader of this raid is often identified as Ragnar Lothbrok, though some argue it could have been another Viking leader. This battle showcases Ragnar's brilliance as a strategist. He didn't just rely on brute strength. He used psychological warfare to intimidate his enemies. It's one of the reasons he became a symbol of Viking power. 4. The Snake Pit, fact or fiction. Now, let's talk about Ragnar's death. According to legend, he was captured by King Aella of Northumbria and thrown into a pit of venomous snakes. Before dying, Ragnar supposedly uttered the famous words, "How the little piglets would grunt if they knew how the old boar suffers." This was a warning to his sons, who later avenged his death. But is this story true? There's no concrete evidence that Ragnar died in this way. Historians believe the snake pit story might have been a symbolic tale to highlight Viking bravery and the fierce loyalty of Ragnar's sons. 5. The legacy of Ragnar's sons. Speaking of his sons, they played a crucial role in keeping Ragnar's legacy alive. Bjorn Ironside, Ivar the Boneless, Sigurd Snake in the Eye, and others are legendary figures in their own right. They continued to raid and conquer, ensuring their father's name lived on. In fact, the Great Heathen Army, a massive Viking force that invaded England in the late 9th century, was supposedly led by Ragnar's son seeking revenge for his death. Whether or not Ragnar was real, his sons became the embodiment of his myth. 6. How Ragnar became a myth. Over time, stories of Ragnar Lothbrok evolved. The sagas turned him into a larger-than-life character. He was portrayed as a fearless warrior who wore pants coated in tar to protect himself from snake bites. hence the nickname Lothbrok, which means hairy breeches. The blending of history and mythology wasn't unique to Ragnar. Many Viking heroes were celebrated in sagas that mixed real events with supernatural elements. These stories were a way to inspire future generations and glorify Viking culture. 7. The role of the sagas. The sagas are a treasure trove of Viking history, but they're also full of contradictions. Different sources tell different versions of Ragnar's story. For example, some sagas describe him as a farmer-turned-warrior. Others say he was a king from birth. In some versions, he's a cunning strategist, while in others, he's a reckless adventurer. These inconsistencies make it difficult to separate fact from fiction. 8. The real Ragnar? So, was Ragnar Lothbrok real? The answer is complicated. He may have been inspired by real historical figures, such as Reginhirus, a Viking leader who attacked Paris in 845, or other unnamed warriors who left their mark on history. But even if Ragnar wasn't a single historical figure, his story represents something bigger: the spirit of the Viking Age. He embodies the courage, ambition, and resilience that define the Norse people. 9. Why Ragnar's story matters today. Ragnar's tale continues to captivate audiences around the world. From historical studies to TV shows like Vikings, his story has become a symbol of adventure, resilience, and the human desire to leave a lasting legacy. Whether you see him as a real person or a mythical hero, one thing is clear: Ragnar Lothbrok's greatest battle wasn't just against his enemies. It was against time, as his name continues to inspire and intrigue us centuries later. So, was Ragnar Lothbrok the man, the myth, or something in between? The truth may never be fully known, but that's part of what makes his story so fascinating. It's a reminder of how history and legend can intertwine, creating a legacy that endures for generations. Ragnar Lothbrok's story is a testament to the power of storytelling. Whether he was a historical figure or a symbolic creation, his name has become synonymous with bravery, resilience, and the indomitable Viking spirit. His battles, his cunning, and even his dramatic death have transcended time, inspiring tales of heroism and adventure for centuries. But beyond the swords and sagas, Ragnar's story teaches us something deeper: the human desire to be remembered. His name echoes through history, reminding us that even as time fades the details, the essence of a legacy endures. It's a powerful reminder that the stories we tell today shape the memories of tomorrow. If you found this journey into Ragnar's world as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like this video, share it with others, and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into history's greatest mysteries. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.